Hi, it's Ian. Welcome back to 30 Days of Knife Skills. This is day 10 and I am working with broccoli. So there's some similarities with broccoli and cauliflower. There's a few other things though that I think are a little bit different with broccoli. The first thing is to trying to figure out how am I going to use it. And for me with broccoli, maybe my favorite way is just like cauliflower. I'll cut it into florets and put it in a very, very hot oven in a roasting pan with olive oil and some salt and pepper. And then get it, broccoli will usually take less time. In about 10 minutes, it'll be nice and charred and very, very delicious. So it kind of blows off some of that moisture, gets really concentrated in that color. Getting some browning on broccoli is really, really great. So probably my favorite way to do it. If I was going to grill this, grilling is also does a similar kind of thing. It gives you a little bit more charring instead of browning, but I like that as well. If I was grilling, this is the time I might try to keep long pieces. So I would try to keep this, for example, this one floret, and try to cut it down so that I can keep it in one piece like that. It's easier than having multiple pieces, and it's less likely for it to fall through the grill grates that way. So once in a while I'll do it like that. Another way will be to break it down and to just steam it for a few minutes and then just have it either warm, room temperature, or cold. That's another way that I will use cauliflower or broccoli in this case. So depends on how old the plant of the broccoli was and how it was harvested and many other things. This one happens to be quite tender, so I can tell that all I need to do is take off this kind of rough very end. And for tasks like that, taking off things like that, it's great to just use the heel. Anytime you're cutting something hard or you just need to put some pressure on, just use the heel portion, and you'll just have a better time and much more control having it there. You can also rock it down or just push it down, but using the heel instead of the tip for harder surfaces like that is a very good tip that I recommend doing. So just from that one cut, I can tell that the center is quite tender, and I like the stalk quite a bit. I think it tastes really, really good. Sometimes even better than the florets portion. So in this case, I'll pretend that I'm going to be steaming this. So I'll take this part and then try to break this down into pieces that I would enjoy. Also the leaves, broccoli leaves are very delicious. When I grow broccoli, of course, there's tons and tons of leaves. So you can harvest those, especially before they get too big. And those are really good as well. If the broccoli was tough, then you might need to either use your knife or a vegetable peeler to get off some of the outer pieces. In this case, I can tell that the skin is not that tough, but maybe there's these pieces where the other leaves were taken off. It looks a little bit ugly, and maybe those are the parts that I'll quickly trim. So usually I'll put it down on the board and rotate it and try to find that spot. So this is not really peeling so much as just getting rid of some of that extra outside. You can peel doing it like this too, but for me, that's about all I need to take off. Well, maybe a little bit more here. Before I break it down into kind of bigger pieces. So depends on the diameter, but in this one, I think what I would do is just go in the center once, and from here, either go half, which I think this is fine for. If this was a little bit fatter and wider, then I might do thirds down the line. So I think this size is great for steaming. But if I wanted it a little bit smaller, then maybe I would go down this way. And here I'm using the tip for this kind of fine work. So just taking that half and thirding it so you can see the difference between the kinds of pieces you get here and here. So if it was a tougher piece, I would definitely go smaller. Something like this is pretty tender, even though the center of this looks a little bit ragged. I think it's not the freshest broccoli ever, so it's kind of dried out in the center here a little bit, but I can feel that it's quite tender, so that's definitely good there. So here, much like cauliflower, I do like to, instead of cutting into the top parts, which will make it, the crumbs and little pieces go flying everywhere, I would usually either, if I can rip it off like that with the hand, I might do that, or this one is not coming off, so I would just cut there, hold it with one hand, and then just cut into the board like that, and then you have these pieces to work with. So I would just continue on, depending on if it's easy to pull off. This one is not a little bit. I can tell that once I get into this area, then I'm going to need to cut. So I'll just rotate and try to get uniform pieces like that. And then toward the end, I'm still trying to avoid the floret part so that it doesn't get too messy. So steaming something like this, I think this shape is really nice. You can grab it and eat it like that. If it seemed like it's too long, then you could easily take that and cut it in half. Or before you cut this part off, you can decide how long you want these floret parts. So I can see that here. This might be kind of long and big, so you might go here and make it into this kind of a size and shape like that. So that would be good for steaming. That would be good for stir frying. That could be good for putting in your hot pot, or in a stir fry, or some kind of a pasta sauce, or it kind of depends on the consistency and the size and the shape that you're looking for. But the next thing you could do is to go here, and again, instead of cutting through the whole thing, I'll just open this up and then pull it apart with my hand like that. So that's something that maybe a trick that you haven't used before, and you can give it a shot. It might take a little practice to just stop your knife from going all the way in, but yeah, in this case, it just takes a little cut and spread apart, and then something like that. So again, roasting in a hot oven, number one, grilling, steaming, and maybe putting it into a either soup or a hot pot or something like that, or sauce. And broccoli is another one of those things that I don't like overcooked, so I'll wait to add it in until toward the end. It only takes a few minutes, especially in a soup, for it to just get tender enough. It remains this kind of bright, vibrant green, and it doesn't get too sulfury tasting from overcooking. So that's pretty much what I do with broccoli. Let me know if you have any questions, and we'll see you on the next one.